Welcome, everyone, to the Breath and Posture channel, where we continue to explore how breath, alignment, and inner awareness really shape our minds and our health. So, today we're going to be stepping into a very powerful and rarely discussed topic. And there's a purpose to this, not only because it kind of just got brought up in passing in a conversation, but it's something that is going to be pretty prevalent throughout our lives, for some of us more than others. And I think it's an important topic to dive into with more context. So, this episode is going to be focused on sexual energy. And not just in this biological sensation sense, but really diving into the psychological, the spiritual, and ultimately gaining an awareness of the creative force that can come from being mindful of our own energy. I got myself a little more organized, so I'll just break out what our topics are in this episode. I'm going to be touching on the neuroscience of arousal and vitality. I will also talk about some Vedic wisdom about this kind of life force energy and merge in some of the energy pathways like meridian lines and energy centers like the root chakra to give it a little more support in the context of wisdom, how we can be more aware of what's happening within ourselves. And then I will definitely bring in some breath, movement, and meditation practices that you can research yourself and start to incorporate, so that if this is an energy that some days dominates some time in your day and you want to gain some clarity on how to work with it in a better, more positive way, you'll have some tools and practices that you can walk away with. So let's get started. What is sexual energy? What is it really? When most of us hear, I got some sexual energy pent up, or I'm kind of dealing with a lot of this, horniness, if we were to call it that, we're thinking of our libido or just being aroused or sexual desire. It's very easy to dismiss it in such a simplistic and also ignorant perspective. It really is. It's easy to just see it for what it is in that context and then all of a sudden just become reactive to it. However, across psychology, you guys, and ancient yogic philosophy, as well as cutting-edge neuroscience, there is a broader understanding of what's happening. So all three of those areas, psychology, ancient yogic philosophy, as well as neuroscience, can agree in a lot of the research that this is an essential life force energy that we all have in us. It is the exact same energy that fuels creativity, our emotional expression, even our drive and passion, obviously our vitality, our ability to be in connection with others, and our presence. So this is the exact same energy that fuels these things. And if we can call it electricity and just see it that way, it is that raw electricity that essentially animates our body and our mind. So physically, we feel it as warmth in the pelvis region. It could be that excitement in our heart rate or our chest, the quickening of our breath, or even just a random spark of inspiration. Part 2 to this is if we start to dive into the psychological view of what sexual energy is. So from a psychological standpoint, sexual energy is actually the motivational system within us. It is an expression of our emotional state and how we connect ourselves with others. And as I said before, it's the source of this creativity, especially intuition, and definitely this inner confidence that we can tap into and essentially nurture the more we become aware of what this energy is. When it is suppressed and ignored or even shamed, the nervous system contracts. Our emotions might get a little frozen or very confused. The body tends to feel numb when we suppress it or ignore or shame it. Our creativity, you guys, tends to dry up. And oftentimes, we can probably attest, I can as well, that maybe anxiety starts to rise. So when this energy is uncontrolled, it's very easy to become impulsive. The brain becomes dysregulated and it starts to feel very hard to find this inner groundedness that we can say we are safe, we are content, we're okay. So I do want to take a step back and say that the sweet spot is not one or the other. Nothing is right or wrong in this sense. We're purely just giving context to the potential. And ideally, the psychological gold is that we integrate our experience. So we don't disregard the sensations, the physical, things that are going on within us, but we bring it into a broader awareness that allows us opportunity to work with ourselves at any given moment of our day. It becomes pretty powerful when we can hold it, breathe with it, and move it through the body without this need to shut it down or release it. This really is the beginning of transformation. So the next area that I want to discuss in this is the neuroscience of sexual energy. So let's talk about the brain. Sexual energy engages some of the most powerful systems in neurobiology. And I'm talking about dopamine, for example. So dopamine is more of that seeking system. This is our motivation, our curiosity, our desire. Dopamine, when we get that kind of dose of it, it's like we move towards something. So this is kind of a no-brainer when it comes to sexual energy that dopamine is in the picture. It's telling us I'm motivated, I feel this, I'm curious, I feel this desire. It's like a rush. However, when we're aware of this kind of chemical release in ourselves, we can start using those exact same adjectives like motivation, curiosity, desire, and we can use them to benefit the moment rather than just purely react off of this chemical fix. Oxytocin is another one. So this is more of the bonding system. Oxytocin helps create feelings of connection and safety and trust, which, bringing it back to sexual energy or just that sex drive, being able to look inside ourselves and be like, what's really going on here? Oh, I'm just feeling a lack of connection with myself and therefore with my partner or with the space around me. So when we get this kind of release of oxytocin in our body, we're looking for that bonding system to solidify our brain with our body in saying we are safe, we trust the moment, and deep down, we're just looking for connection. Also, serotonin is released, the calm and contentment system. So, unfortunately, we kind of misperceive this sexual energy as a need to manufacture this calmness and contentment. But it's already right there available in our system. And it really is back to this whole purpose of the topic, giving us the tools and mindful awareness to work with what's happening both, neurologically, biologically, and bringing in some experiences like breath, movement to help support that. Also, neurologically, the prefrontal cortex. So that is where the meaning and intention of our moment comes into play. When we are able to consciously breathe, this literally reshapes how your brain interprets arousal. I could be physically aroused. I could be experiencing sensations. I could feel that heat in, my pelvis region. But the moment I work with my own brain to say, where is the intention and meaning behind all of this? And then, even if I don't have an answer, I can start bringing in conscious breath. It allows the space and time for my brain to not just react to the sensations I'm experiencing, but it gives me the opportunity to reshape how my brain interprets it, giving me more options than just to react. So back to the point, why meditation, breath work, even grounding practices. I use yoga sometimes. When I'm experiencing that energy, I will go right into a practice. It doesn't have to be long, but I am aware that I'm experiencing sexual energy and I want to work with it positively. So I'll do a little movement, I'll move my body around, and then I start to realize that it's not like it dissipates, but it moves in a way that feels positive, like I'm supporting myself through whatever comes up. Now, if we go into the, tantric and Vedic wisdom behind this, sexual energy is a big one. In ancient times, it's considered sacred. And it's not considered sacred because of romance or pleasure or even reproducing. But it's literally the energy of creation. It is the same force that animates consciousness. So in Vedic wisdom, they say that sexual energy is the creative force, the breath is prana, which is the carrier of our consciousness. And awareness is the ultimate transformer. So when we can look at our own sexual energy as a creative force, and then we incorporate breath intentionally as the carrier of our conscious awareness, then we are now aware of what's happening, and that transforms us, you guys. Immediately it takes us from a reactive human that is maybe perceiving that they are just horny and need to do something about it, to a elevated human that can actually choose how they would like to use this energy. So if we are aware, and this is something that can be experienced immediately when we practice these things, it moves, this kind of ball of heat moves from our pelvis up to the belly, to the heart, to the throat, the mind, and then into this kind of expanded awareness of ourselves. We don't have to study chakras or energy lines or even Vedic wisdom in order to experience this movement firsthand. Your breath, your posture, how your body is aligned in the moment, as well as your intention, all become these kind of levers that shape how this energy moves through us. So let's talk a little bit about our subtle energy channels, meridian lines, as well as, a big energy center like the root chakra, which is located at the base of our spine. Now, this chakra it governs our feeling of safety, grounding, our sense of belonging. Survival is kind of housed down here, and obviously healthy sexuality. So a grounded root chakra really means that we feel safe, we feel stable, we're kind of embodied within ourselves, we're aware, and we feel connected. However, when we're not really grounded in that root area, we can feel like things are pretty chaotic. We can feel overwhelmed, almost numb to emotions in a lot of ways. Or the opposite, our emotions are all over the map, and then ultimately disconnected. So where the meridian lines come in, and I'm just going to briefly touch on that, it really allows us, when we kind of look at a diagram of these energy lines that are running through our system, when our spine is open and our breath is deep, our nervous system feels safe. We immediately allow a space of grounding that anything that comes up has a platform to work with. So, for example, with the kidney meridian line, this is where it stores that primordial life force that's running through our body. Or our liver meridian, that governs our emotional flow and our sexual expression. It's important to be mindful that we have these energy centers and energy pathways throughout our body that, whether we use mindful movement, Qigong, Tai Chi, are very integrated with understanding these energy pathways. We can essentially pick and choose movement based on allowing these pathways to flow fluidly. So this is definitely why when you work with your breath and posture, it is foundational to help open up these energy pathways and let sexual energy travel through. So let's talk about some of the practices to balance and circulate sexual energy. Now, root breathing is the first one I'm just going to briefly touch on, and it's essentially just very slow, grounded breath. You're aware of your pelvis and perineum in this kind of root breathing. This allows you to build upon that safety and stability mindset. I am purposely sitting here. I am going to focus on my breath. I'm going to slow the breath down. And I'm actually bringing in awareness down to the region of my pelvis, my perineum, where perhaps I'm feeling all this heat, excitement, fire. But I am tuned in to building this sense of safety and stability within myself with this slow breathing in order to work with this sexual energy right now. That is an example. There is also pelvic floor awareness, and now there are certain doctors or practitioners you can go to learn more about how to work with your pelvic floor area, and that really does provide this base of strengthening your root chakra area. I won't go too much into that. There's also something called microcosmic orbit This, I definitely had a chapter in life just exploring and practicing. I have the book on it. It's fantastic. Microcosmic orbit. It's essentially where you inhale up the spine and exhale down the front of the body. It creates this full body energetic circuit where you are consciously, with your imagination, moving that energy around, starting at the base. Another example, and this is something that I use actually throughout yoga practice, whether I'm teaching a class or just practicing alone at home. It's focused on our spine. And if we just simply call it, say, a spine wave, what it does is it creates this fluid motion of the spine to unblock any stagnation. You don't have to do a specific exercise, but if you want to look up, say, a yoga sequence that incorporates spinal waves, or just look up spine waves, exercises. So it essentially creates this movement up and down the spine, opening up the vertebrae, the space between, to really allow this energy to flow. It's bringing any kind of energy back into that heart space so that through breath, through movement, we are experiencing a sense of compassion, solidity, and presence with the movement. So it doesn't have to necessarily be, looking up Qigong, Heart Mudra, exercise. But if you just think, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to work with this energy right now, and I'm going to bring it into my heart. I am going to let it rise from my pelvis up through my body and land into this heart region. Let it become warm. Experience consciously compassion, presence. Work with it in that positive sense. It really does happen quickly, you guys. This isn't something that you need to spend years and years on. You should, we all should, in working with tools that are great for us. But at the same time, I want to emphasize that we can experience a relief in a lot of senses when it comes to sexual energy. We can experience a relief if we work with it in these ways. So just to kind of recap some of the practices, I talked about root breathing. I mentioned the microcosmic orbit meditation. Also the spine wave, so really where we're just opening up the spine through movement. And then also mindfully turning that energy into kind of more of a heart-centered energy with breath. So now I'm going to finish this with a guided meditation. And really the purpose of this meditation is to experience that kind of grounding of our sexual energy, if we have any right now. If you don't, great, you're welcome to just end here. Or if you'd like to just listen to the meditation so you know if at any point you want to tune this back on, you're welcome to. So let's go ahead and begin in a comfortable seat or in a lying position. And whichever one we choose, let your spine just lengthen. Even in the slightest. If you're laying down, the easiest way to do that is kind of tucking your chin in so that you're straightening your cervical spine and just kind of creating that length. If you're sitting, the same thing. Reach with your head, but let your hips, your belly, let them just drop, creating space inside your body. Go ahead and take a nice slow breath in and a soft releasing breath out. Do this a few times. Let your shoulders completely melt downward. your face soften. And your whole lower belly, let it relax completely. No tension. We'll start off by grounding the root. So bring your awareness to the base of your spine. And as you keep that natural breath, just imagine the breath traveling all the way down your spine into the pelvis, the perineum, your hips. As if every inhale you're taking right now is expanding your pelvis. On every exhale, feel your body settle downward into the earth. I am safe in this body. I am releasing and grounding down. I feel a stability within myself that doesn't waver. It's always right here. Now imagine a warm glow building. It's subtle, like a small ember. See it at the base of your spine, shining with warmth. Imagine this light is your life force energy. It is your creativity, your sexual energy, your radiance in your life. Allow this ember to warm your pelvis, spreading slowly to the hips. Feel it awakening within you. Now begin to guide this light upward. On your next inhale, let it rise through the spine, starting from your pelvis up towards the heart. As you exhale, imagine this light traveling down the front of your body, and returning to your pelvis. Once again, your inhale is allowing it to travel up your back, around to the front for your exhale to bring it back down. This warm light is circulating around and through you, free from judgment, and as it reaches again up your back, around to your torso, let it land in the center of your heart. See it becoming brighter, filling the space of your chest. This light, still representing your creativity, feel it now as compassion, love, its warmth bringing you into this state of presence. Of acceptance. You are safe and fully right here in your chest. As you let the breath continue in its natural pace, see your body glowing with this light, this tiny radiant ember now rooted in your heart, having circulated and moved, creating a warmth and light around your whole body. Go ahead and take a nice big inhale and just release it out. Let it go.